Next Friday, on the 22nd, we will recognize and acknowledge the 50th anniversary of the assassination of John Fitzgerald Kennedy Jr., John Fitzgerald Kennedy, who was the 35th President of the United States, and who was assassinated in Dallas, Texas on November 22nd. And I know one of the reasons someone asked me, well, why do you do this? And what I've been talking actually since the spring in a lot of civic places and schools and things, and why do you do this? Number one, as a judge, we've recognized and we see sometimes that our civics is not what it used to be in terms of what we teach and what people know. And for those of you that are under the age of, well, certainly if you're under the age of 55, you probably don't remember what happened on that day. And that day was probably in our lifetimes. There's only been 2 days where you can probably say it was a dramatic event in your life. I know exactly where I was, what I was doing, and everyone in here that was alive in 2001 when we had 9/11 knows exactly where you were and what was going on that morning. And this was the same effect in about noon or 12:30 on November 22nd, 1963. Those of us that, I was at that time was 10 years old, and I was a fifth grader at Sutherland Elementary School out on Highway 431, which doesn't exist anymore. And I can still remember to this day, he was assassinated at approximately 12:30 during the lunch hour. And I can remember to this day at approximately 1 o'clock, a little after 1, that my teacher came into the room and announced to the class that the President of the United States had been assassinated. And it was then, just like it seems today, it was just hard to fathom, hard to conceive, hard to understand, and because of the kind of the fairy tale existence of our president at that time, that a lot of people, they called it Camelot, and a lot of things were, in hindsight now, there were a lot of things, a lot of great things were going on, and there were a lot of tough things in the country going on at that time, and this was a unique presidency that came to an abrupt end. Now, I'm a pack rat, and my wife hates it, unfortunately, but I don't throw stuff away. And even as a kid, I knew probably someday I was going to go to school and study political science and everything, and this kind of stuff just really has always interested me. So I saved the papers from 50 years ago today, and I'm going to pass these around. These are original Messenger and Inquirer papers, and the first one we'll start around. This is a Friday paper. And if you would, just kind of leave them in the plastic, seal them up. This was a Friday paper. This is in those days in Owensboro, we had two papers. We had a morning and an afternoon paper. This is the actual paper. If you can tell, if you'll lay out our current Messenger up, probably about half the size of it, or maybe less, of what papers were in those days. And this was that afternoon. They did a special edition for the assassination. And then, of course, what I also have to hand out, I'll start that one, just go that direction with it. And this is the Saturday paper, the Saturday morning paper. And again, this was a follow-up on the assassination. There was the headlines in Owensboro, as every other paper in the country that day. I'll start that one that direction, Judge, if you would. And then Monday's paper, for those of us who are, and the assassination, obviously was very difficult for this country. But you got to remember, in 9/11, for example, you think about our technology and our telephones, and we can't move, or we can't do anything anymore without having some advanced technology. In those days, we didn't have any of that. In fact, in Owensboro, Kentucky, we still had my family had a black and white TV, as did most families in Owensboro, and you only got 3 TV stations. Can you imagine that today? Most of you have 200 stations when you go home at night, you start clicking around. No ESPNs, no CNNs. We had 3 stations, and you got them off your rabbit ears or your antennas off your house. There were 3 NBC, ABC, and CBS stations out of Evansville, and that's all you had. But that's all that the coverage was for that event, was the Kennedy assassination. And on Sunday morning, most of us who were glued to our TV sets watched Lee Harvey Oswald being moved. He was being detained at a detention center at the police headquarters in Dallas since Friday, when he was arrested after the assassination. And they were moving him Sunday morning to the main jail in Dallas. And of course, security and things of that nature are not like they are today, and people could have access that normally you couldn't get within 10 miles of something today like that. But Jack Ruby, a nightclub owner there in Dallas, who knew all the policemen, they all were familiar with him, probably because he ran a club and stuff. And probably some of them frequented. They saw him there. They knew he was there. I mean, he was down in an underground parking garage. They were moving him. And Jack Ruby steps out on national TV and shoots Lee Harvey Oswald. And this is the Monday paper, and that's the picture that appeared, you know, around the world. I mean, that as he's actually getting shot at the time. And like I said, most people that were watching their TV Sunday saw it live.